Women Up Radio, designed to facilitate women's empowerment, improve your career, develop your talents, incorporate your passions, achieve fulfillment and success.
Hello, this is Women Up Radio, supporting Empower Women. And today we're talking about how music can assist women in their careers to help alleviate stress, sleep better, have more energy, and better manage the challenges between professional and private lives. I'm joined in the studio by my guest, John Levine, musician and composer, creator of Alphamusic, which is a natural music remedy to improve our mindset, reduce stress, help insomnia, and to treat ill health. So, welcome to the program, John.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And it's very nice of you to be here today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So, John, you've had a really interesting career and you've experienced quite a range of music along the way before you created Alphamusic. So tell us, how did you start and what led you to choose this career path?
Well, I had two hobbies as a child. One was music and one was electronics. Mm-hmm. And what happened was that whilst I was enjoying building electronic circuits and playing music, classical music and rock music, my father was progressively getting sicker with different types of illnesses such as heart disease and diabetes and diverticulitis, and unfortunately at the age of 58 he died, and the doctors were always saying to him that he should stop worrying and take away the stress and anxiety, but nothing that they did and no advice that they gave him actually helped him. And so the trauma of seeing all this happen in front of my eyes encouraged me to try and understand how could possibly stress and anxiety lead to such a terrible situation of my father dying from all of these stress-related diseases, and how the mind, how it works. How could the mind possibly do that? And then obviously the answer is how could the mind keep yourself healthy and relaxed?
Yes. Yeah.
So based on that, I learned that as you became more relaxed, the brainwaves started to slow down.
Yeah.
And I'd learned different types of relaxation courses where they showed how when brainwaves slowed down, you became more relaxed, and they taught me how to slow my brainwaves down so that I could become more relaxed, and it worked brilliantly well for me.
Really?
Yes, it's just incredible that you've got different brainwave states, and and we all go through these every day. Yeah. The matter is to identify what state they are and to have some sort of control or management over those states so that you can actually induce a calm state and also to help you get to sleep. So I switched from an electrical engineering degree to a music composition degree.
Yeah.
And after finishing that, I was told about special music called New Age relaxation music, which was supposed to help with sleep and reduce stress and anxiety. So I bought some of the cassettes at the time because it was in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And I found that the music was terribly boring and irritating.
Yes.
So I had a recording studio at the time, a 24-track recording studio.
Yeah.
So when my friends said, Levine, you're boring us to death with all the criticism. If you're going to bang on about it so much, why don't you go and just do it yourself? Write what you think it should be like. Yeah. So I said, okay, well, I'll take up your challenge. So in 1984, I recorded a piece of music which is now called and released as Silence of Peace, Volume 1.
Yes.
And that was my first composition of this type of music, which I now call Alphamusic.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, well, I'll play that.
Spinning the clock into the future 17 years later, because for 17 years that piece of music was in a box as an experiment, but nobody used it, nobody listened to it, nobody tried it, nothing happened to it. It was just in a box for 17 years.
Yeah.
And I discovered it by accident after I divorced in Poland. And I played it to a few people, and they said it was calming and relaxing. But I was going through a midlife crisis and feeling quite sorry for myself and in a depressed state. So when everyone said it was wonderful, I thought they're probably wanting to say something nice so I won't fall off a cliff or something.
Yeah.
And my engineering brain clicked in saying, well, the only way to test if this music really works is to measure the brainwaves.
Yes.
And at that stage, I didn't have the connections to measure the brainwaves, but I needed to know what I should be doing in my life.
Yeah.
So I ended up just praying because I didn't trust anybody and I didn't have any of the scientific equipment.
Yeah.
And my prayers were answered the next day because a friend of mine, her sister, reported that 3 of her budgies fell asleep in the daylight listening to Silence of Peace.
Oh, really?
Remarkable. I didn't really react when she first told me because I didn't understand what that meant.
Yes.
So she had to explain to me that budgies never fall asleep in daylight.
Yeah.
They always fall asleep at night when it's dark.
Yeah.
And the family that was playing Silence of Peace to the budgies, well, they weren't actually playing it to the budgies. They were just playing it to see if it was relaxing or calming.
Yes.
So they had no idea that it would do anything for themselves, let alone the animals. And I didn't know that they had any budgies. Yeah. So there wasn't any placebo effect. There wasn't any suggestion or expectation.
Yeah.
This just happened. And every time they turned off the music, they woke up.
Yeah.
And every time they turned on the music, they eventually went to sleep.
Incredible. Incredible.
But later on, we tried it on, we had a EEG operator that measured the brainwaves.
Yes.
Whilst playing Silence of Peace, and she found that the brainwaves started to slow down within a few minutes.
Oh, really? So can you explain a bit more about brainwaves and the alpha state? Because, well, I definitely don't know anything about it, and I'm sure most people haven't really heard much about it.
Well, the brain is producing brainwaves all the time, when you're awake and when you're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Broadly speaking, that there are 4 different sets of brainwaves: beta, alpha, theta, and delta.
Yeah.
And broadly speaking, beta is when you're awake and you could be highly active or in a stressed or an anxious state. Alpha is when you're awake but you're in a calm, relaxed state. Theta is when you're dreaming.
Yeah.
And delta is when you're deeply asleep.
So the alpha state is the one that we are all aiming for, basically, to have a nice life.
The best state to be in is in an alpha state because you're awake and you're calm.
Yeah.
And your system, your whole body is working as well as it should be. Okay. If you're in a beta state, there's a good chance you'll be in a flight or fight response state.
Yes.
Where the adrenaline is up, the blood pressure is up, the heartbeat is racing.
Yeah.
The immune system gets suppressed when you're in that type of state. You can't think very clearly.
Yeah.
And you can't be creative. You can't digest your food when you're in that state.
Oh, right.
Most people digest their food when they're in a stressed state, and they wonder why they get ulcers and IBS.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, what scientific research has been done in this area? Because it sounds like it's amazing. It's brilliant.
Well, there's been a lot of research done on brainwaves in different states, such as what brainwaves you have when you go to sleep. There's a lot of research done on circadian rhythms.
Yeah.
We're still looking to do more and more research on our music.
Yeah.
Or the music that I've composed. The studies that we have done, the first one, which was a scientific study done by a university in Krakow, Poland, showed that there was a reduction of stress and anxiety during dental procedure.
Yeah.
When my Alphamusic was being used. And in fact, one person was so relaxed, they were snoring whilst being operated on. And it's funny. And he didn't even know that he was snoring. And we have a dentist in Hammersmith in London.
Yeah.
Using NLP techniques that with my Silence of Heart CD, the patients don't feel any pain whatsoever.
Really? Oh, that's
remarkable.
So tell me, how can music affect our behaviour in general?
It's a big question. It'll take probably a year to answer that question.
Okay, well, briefly. One or two very quick ideas.
No, well, music touches different parts of our body.
Yeah.
And our mind.
Yeah.
It can relate to our feelings, our experiences, music is a way of communicating. Like, let's say you and I are speaking English.
Yeah.
The only reason why you understand what I'm saying is because you've learnt what these words mean in English.
Yes.
When you were young. And I only know how to speak English because I was taught English as well. We are all taught, even before we're born, about sound and music.
Yeah.
We're listening to sounds all the time, whether they're music sounds or whether they're just sounds that are from the environment. Yeah. And we're relating these sounds to our current state and our current experience. And this is banked up like a bank of, it's like a dictionary of sounds and music.
Yeah.
So when we hear similar sounds, these experiences come back to us.
Yeah.
If simply, let's say, if someone shrieks, we immediately stop what we're doing and we turn our head and see where it's coming from.
Yes, exactly.
Because we know that it could be something serious or could be something that is connected with danger.
Yeah.
And that is a fairly general thing that is across all nations and across all countries. Yeah. To say, for example, another one is like the sound of a siren, like a police siren, ambulance.
Mm.
So we have a knowledge, innate knowledge or subconscious knowledge of all these sounds, and if you play the right notes or the right melodies, certain things come back to us.
You are listening to Anna Letitia Cook at Women Up Radio.
Music, it seems that it can be really medicinal or therapeutic in certain circumstances. So is it linked to that, the fact that we've learnt certain reactions to certain noises, or is there something more to it as well?
Well, there's a lot more to it than just that. That's one aspect of it, and it's a very important aspect to it. Music is comprised of many different aspects: rhythm, melody, tonality, repetition, lack of repetition, and all of these things are just as important as another.
Yeah.
In terms of how it's all put together that will affect a person.
Yep.
And the way I compose the music, I put my own set of compositional principles together, and based on those, I have a set of compositional rules, and based on that, I compose the piece of music. And I've got actually 32 albums that I've composed, and each one helps in a different area.
Oh, really? Mm. I know we talked briefly before, and from what I understand, for speaking particularly for professional women, because obviously that's the field that I'm dealing with most, and that most of the listeners are professional women. So for them, I understand that Alphamusic can have a significant positive impact for them on reducing stress and improving sleep problems, and even managing some of the challenges that we face in our careers. So how is it that Alphamusic can help this? Because it seems such a wonderful thing if we can use it for something like that. Can you explain a little bit more?
It's a very wide question.
Sorry, I know I want big questions, but do focus on whichever point is most important.
Well, it's probably best just to be very simple and very practical.
Yeah.
If your listeners come to my website, they can try different albums, try free samples, and it's at silenceofmusic.com. The Orange Grove Siesta album seems to be brilliant for women that have got a busy mind that can't get to sleep.
Yes, I would agree with that. I've tried. It's wonderful. It's
Oh, well, that's good.
great.
I'm glad it works for you. Now, for most men don't have a busy mind, and they prefer the amber album to go to sleep. But if the woman does not have a busy mind, and then she could actually try the amber CD, which is composed to be the opposite of the orange. If your readers are going through post-traumatic stress or depression, or going through a divorce or something really deeply emotional, they might try Silence of Heart, which is being used for bereavement and for depression, or they might try Silence of Voice, which is it's a little bit lighter than Heart, and it could be used more for if you want to relieve the guilt that you might be going through, or you might want to let go of resentment. Silence of Voice might be a good way to start, rather than starting with Heart, the Silence of Heart album. During interviews, if you wanted people to feel relaxed and to listen to you, then again you could try a few of the different albums from the Silence range. Silence of Peace, Volume 1, is incredibly effective and very powerful. So I would use that one as the last resort.
Right.
Because it can be very, very powerful. The interesting thing about most of the albums is that if you are sleep deprived, then without knowing it, you'll fall asleep. So, it's because it can work so effectively. You could sleep standing up. Really,
that would be great.
So we write on everything. Do not use this music whilst you're driving a car or operating heavy equipment, because you could, for obvious reasons.
It could be dangerous. So, and are there any other effects that we can get from listening to alpha music?
I would say it would be more like you're redefining the question is, are there any other benefits you can get from alpha music? And the answer is yes, absolutely. We have online that you can access for free, testimonial and information book, and the index goes on for pages and pages, where there's a cross index, so you could say which music can help me with dyslexia, or what music should I use for my children that have got, or my child that's got that's on the autistic spectrum, and how can it be used? We've got people using my music for tinnitus. The amount of benefits is quite a lot. So the testimony and information book would I would say would be a great textbook or reference book for most families to have on tap.
Okay. And there's something that I thought about, and I know we briefly touched on this before as well. Do you think there could also be a beneficial effect in business life in general? So, for example, I know you've just said in interviews, but what about having something like this music, or whichever specific one you think is suitable, in the background during difficult negotiations or stressful meetings, or the typical business situations which are challenging, to make them go better or more easily or more positively? Do you think it could be used like that? I mean, is there a real professional business use that could come out of it?
Absolutely. And I would say the more you study the testimonial information book, and the more you get to hear the music and read about it, the more you'll be able to match the particular music or the composition with as background to a particular interview. Now, the reason why I'm saying it's good to read and listen and learn is because it's not like one size doesn't fit all. Okay, I'll give you an example. If there are people that you're talking to in a business meeting, and they're annoyed at you, or they're harboring resentment,
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Then rather than just playing Silence of Peace, which might calm everybody down, you might want to play Silence of Voice so that they can start to soften their heart. In other words, soften their feelings towards letting go of the resentment that they might be harboring against you.
Yes.
Do you see?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could, on a superficial way, you could say, okay, I'm going to play Emerald Forest because it's very nice and very pleasant and makes everyone happy. And you could try that one.
Yeah.
And it's very good for that. It's very good for Christmas time as well, when families come over to stop them arguing whilst they're having a dinner.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. Right, I'll play this one so everyone can hear it.
So the more you know about the different albums, the more that you can choose which one would go with a particular business meeting.
Yes.
Because sometimes there are subtexts going on, other agendas going on an emotional level. And if you can actually understand where the other people are, the other parties are emotionally, and address them on an emotional level, then they might be able to hear you, or they should be able to hear you and understand you on a business level a lot better.
Yes.
You see, usually, sorry to be sexist, but usually men don't get this. You know, they will talk like business talk from one man to another, but they don't understand, or they don't sort of have the ability to be sensitive enough to understand that's what's behind what are the emotional motivations that are driving the people that you're talking to.
Yeah. Yes.
And if you can understand those and play the right music that touches those problems or those challenges, and also talk in such a way that you can be sensitive to that, then you're going to get a better understanding, better cooperation, and you'll have a better business meeting that comes from it.
Yeah, wonderful. That's great.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you complimented women in the same time. Well done.
I'm sorry to put men down.
No, that's all right. No problem.
I just see this. What I find in conferences and all the rest, most women get attracted to the stand.
Yes.
And want to understand more about the music.
Yeah.
Most the men, there's fewer men that come up and are interested, and most men usually are asking me, "How does it work?"
Yes.
Okay, but whilst the woman is asking, "How can I use it?" Yeah.
Yes. Well, they always say women are more intelligent. Sorry, I missed that.
Well, no, I'd say that that's just how it is. I mean, what I found is that the women are more concerned about the family and the health and the education and even the spiritual needs and the dietary needs of the family rather than the men. That's just what I found.
Yes.
Sorry to put men down again, but that's just
we're different. We have different strengths,
different roles,
visions. So okay. To finish up, are there any tips or any last thoughts you want to leave us with about Alphamusic and about how we can start to use it, I suppose, or any idea, any feelings you have about how it would benefit us the most?
I would just say come to the website and explore, listen to the samples, listen to how you feel.
Yes.
And how the music affects you and others around you. Be observant as to what happens and what type of conversations you have.
Yeah.
And what you'll find, like if you start playing Silence of Heart, when you've got a meeting with a few friends over coffee, that the type of conversation will become a lot more sincere and a lot more meaningful, and the superficialness will just evaporate. And it's only the music, and it's the music that's doing it. So I mean, just explore and enjoy. That's the best I can say.
Oh, that's fascinating. Absolutely. Well, I have 2 of the albums. I will have to get some more because it sounds wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much, John. It's been so interesting to hear about this and all the benefits we can have and how we can use it. So thank you very much for joining us and for
my pleasure. And thank you for inviting me on the program.
You're welcome. We'd like to thank our guest, John Levine, musician and composer and creator of Alphamusic, for sharing his expertise on how music can assist women in their careers and the impact it has on stress, sleep, energy, and better management of the challenges that face us both professionally and personally. I'm Anna Letitia Cook. You've been listening to us at Women Up Radio. Thanks also to Meryl Guzel and Laura Martinez of UN Women's Empower Women for the wonderful work that they do to advance the case for women's equality today. And a big thank you to you, the listeners. I hope you've enjoyed hearing John and all his advice, as well as the 2 pieces of music that we've played